Hello, it is I, real life Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'd like to share with you something today. Today on the channel, I want to explain the fourth dimension and how I feel it should be thought about. I've been a 3D modeler for more than 15 years. So, my conclusion is that the way we think about four dimensions is incorrect because we're assuming that the fourth direction is just like the other dimensions, as if 2D, an X, Y, and Z plane, an XY plane has any correlation to a fourth dimensional world. We assume that since X and Y is a part of X, Y, and Z, that X, Y, and Z is a part of the fourth dimension. What do I mean by this? We say, is the fourth dimension time? We kind of ditched the whole idea that the fourth dimension is a direction and that it's instead time. Time is another variable that manipulates the way three-dimensional objects interact with each other. If time passes, the ball and gravity will pull the ball down and it will hit the ground. So I've got what is the fourth dimension? What really is it? I got this. Let me explain why I don't believe this is the fourth dimension. It's because it's using three-dimensional lines to depict visualization of the fourth dimension. So you have the second dimension. It's just straight lines, X and Y. And then when you try to depict the fourth dimension, they use three-dimensional shapes. Let's just throw a cube inside of a cube and connect lines together and rotate it around, try to make this neat perspective trick. But that's all it is. It's just a trick of the eye to make you believe that you're staring at something that's foreign that doesn't exist in reality. But as you can see in this picture, that's just cute. So trying to use three-dimensional objects to depict the fourth dimension is kind of like creating a platform. It's Sonic, jump over. You have a cube there, a cube there, another cube there, another cube there. They're not really doing anything. They're just adding platform. It's the same thing with the fourth dimensional object. If you're adding three-dimensional objects to create a four-dimensional object, it's just going to be a bunch of three-dimensional objects. It's just a platform. So, what is this fourth dimension? Well, we have to assume that it's not a direction, but it's a three-dimension. Instead of a conventional or standard direction, you have, okay, I'm going to go this way. what do I mean by this? There's a bunch of cubes here that I tried to illustrate. If you're trying to make a fourth dimensional object, just stacking a bunch of three-dimensional cubes on top of one another isn't going to do anything. What are we staring at here? This looks like, you know, a 3D type of object. I see X, Y, Z. So, what can we assume? We assume that the first dimension, right? Let me get this going here. The first dimension is just a line, right? That's 1D. And then we have 2D, which are two lines, you know, 1, 2. 2D, and 3D is the z-axis. So we have a cube, and there's different direction. There's an X, a Y, and then a Z. You can go forward and backwards. So what is this fourth dimension? The only way that I can imagine another direction is a direction within a direction. So, what are the common traits of the first three dimensions? Well, it's just a single direction. It's a straight line. If you think about every three-dimensional object you've ever seen, it's just a bunch of lines. You know, when you're 3D modeling, everything's a line. Everything's a vertice and an edge. And the edges connect these vertices to give this illusion of a three-dimensional object. So this fourth dimension here, it should be a curve. If we're going to combine 3D objects together to create the illusion of 4 dimensions, then we should use an actual 3-dimensional object. And what is that? A curve. You have X, Y, and Z, all straight lines. None of them are curves. But a curve is an actual 3-dimensional object. It's a line that can go X, Y, and Z. It can go around. Z can just go in one direction. X and Y can only go in one direction, but a curve can go, it can go 2D, it can go 3D, it can go anywhere. It's a curve. So I call this curve A curve. So this right here could be the fourth dimension. As I mentioned, we have X, a straight line, Y, a straight line, Z, straight line. And usually when somebody tries to create a 4-dimensional object, they 3D plus 3D, let's see what we can do with 3-dimensional objects. So, my idea is that the fourth dimension is a curve within a 3-dimensional object. So this 3-dimensional object contains the fourth direction. What I mean by that is this curve right here, it can go in any direction within the 3D space. So the only way to visualize the fourth dimension is to rotate the cube, and the curve inside of the cube changes direction as you rotate it to get a glimpse of this isn't turning with the cube. This is going against the direction of the cube. So it is allowing the curve to go in a direction then go left. And as I'm going left, I'm going up at the same time. Or as I'm going left, I'm going up and right and down at the same time. But this would be possible. Not with this curve. This curve would be able to go anywhere throughout the 3D space. It will give the visualization that it's outside of the three-dimensional space. So as you see the cube changing direction, this curve doesn't